Okay, guys, what is happening? Jay here. This is SmartHelping.com. Well, apparently everybody needs a financial modeler again after 3 months of essentially no work and very, very little interest in templates. So that's an interesting new development. It's fine. I'm very flexible, so I can handle the ups and downs pretty much all right. Anyway, today I was working on a model for a client, and I thought I'd share about asset management fees and real estate models. And so one problem that people run into, especially more complex modeling, is if you need to do an asset management fee and you have a model where you're trying to use, you don't want to hard code a equity input. You want to automatically have the model calculate how much equity is needed, and you could have reserves and everything else, all the costs, and you know, calculate the minimum equity based on that. The problem is if you do an asset management fee based on that minimum equity raised, and that minimum equity is in part includes any calculation that's in past period zero. So, like month one through whatever. And this is typical for new construction, new development models mostly. Not as relevant. Really, it's not relevant at all for acquisitions where everything's happening in period zero, because you can always reference that, and your asset management fee is just going to be based on a percentage of the funds raised, and you get that percentage each year as the GP. But if your initial calculation is automated and it's using some of the cash flows from operations, as, like, let's say you have burn, let's say there's construction costs, development costs, debt service, interest, all those things, and that you want to feed that back into an initial amount of equity that you need. um, well, if you can't do a percentage of that and reference it in the actual operating model. So if you have, so operations, say we have NOI at some number, debt service, construction, let's say, this is period 0, 1, and you're going over here, and then you have some debt service, construction, costs. Okay. Um, and then you've got cash flow down here, and then you're going to make your cash flow based on, say you've got NOI. Sorry, this is not zero. Maybe you have NOI starting in, period 4, what have you. So you have a couple of periods here where there's, you're not supporting the debt service and construction costs with any operating income. Okay, so you have your initial cost or investment needed. Let's say it's 500, and just making up numbers. And then you say, 3% of that's the asset management fee. Okay, well, you can't put that 3% in the pro forma as a project cost, because that will in turn raise the minimum equity required, because it's going to reduce your cash flows during this burn period when you're not stabilized. So it's going to raise that, and this is just a circular reference loop. And I've gotten, I've had run-ins with this problem, occasionally. It's kind of complex, but it does come up, especially if you're trying to automate the equity input. Now, as you saw with, the last 15 or 20 models I've been doing, the equity input or equity injection's been manual input. If you're doing that, then this is not relevant. It doesn't matter to you. But in a lot of real estate models, you want to calculate the equity input automatically. That way, as you adjust assumptions about debt, financing, acquisition price, all that, your equity input does not need to be also updated with those assumptions. It will just automatically change based on your the minimum equity required. Okay. So if you are trying to automate it, what you have to do is go to the waterfall. And it's really, asset management fee is really a staple of the waterfall anyway. So it's fine to have it there. And what you'll have is so you've got this. minus this, plus this. Let's just say this is your cash flow stream, okay? So in the waterfall, you're going to have these cash flows, which is fine. And then you're going to have whatever the minimum equity is, was raised, either if it's all up front. For example, let's say you needed the 500 up front plus to cover 3 months here. So let's say it was 545. You can just do, let's say it's 3%. And obviously I wouldn't hard code this. You can look at smarthelping.com if you want to see the templates, but they're proper. This, I'm just trying to explain a concept, so we're going to hard code this here. So let's say it's 3% per year, and that's your asset management fee. So what happens is, in this case, when you have negative cash flows in these periods, if you're doing an annual waterfall, you would just annualize the whole year's cash flows, or you would back these into the initial. Well, let me restart. These are in this initial cost here. Your asset management fee. So your cash flow is zero here. So if you don't have any money, your asset management fee would have to be paid by equity, and that would just flow to your waterfall and just be a cash contribution by the LP and GP if you don't have any cash flows to support it, which is fine. But the point is, you're putting this row in with, so you basically would do distributable cash flow. Then you have your asset management fee. Then you have distributions available. And you just do distributable cash flow is what your operating, company's doing after all other costs and everything been accounted for. So you have that cash flow that's going to be available. You take out the asset management fee, and then that would just flow down to income for the GP in their waterfall. And then you have after you take that out of the available cash flows, let's say now in month 4 you've got 100. You do 100 less the asset management fee, so 83. So that 16 goes straight as GP income, and then you have $83 left to distribute to the waterfall based on how you have the waterfall set up, which could be a million different things with IRR hurdles or preferred return or whatever between the GP and LP in their agreement. Okay, this is how you get around the circular logic issue. So you run all the cash flow, the operating income, debt service, construction costs, other fees, any other fees, just not asset management fees that are based on the minimum equity required. You can run all that, bring it to the top of the waterfall, reduce your asset management fees, and then you have a final distributable cash flow. So that's the structure you can use, and you have no errors, no circular reference errors. It works fine, and I like it. So the what you might say as well on the pro forma, where you have your monthly and annual cash flows and net operating income statement, all that stuff. So the asset management fee would not sit in there anywhere, um, because the final result of that pro forma is going to drive, based on cash in and out, how much equity you need, and then you use a percentage of that to calculate your asset management fees. So it has to be separated. It can't be, you can't figure out your min cash based on asset management fee. That's going to lower your min cash, and then that'll change your initial investment required. And then that's the infinite loop that you will have an error with. Okay, so if you've been running into this before, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't just tried this, you can try it, which is just bring everything to the waterfall, then take out the asset management fee, then distribute, through to the waterfall with the available cash flow after that. And then that asset management fee can just flow as a income item to the GP. Okay. That's all I really want to talk about here on this one. If you want to buy templates or hire me for work, in real estate or whatever. I've done, oh shoot, I don't have my, well, you can go to smarthelping.com. I'll just type it out here because I don't have my site up and all that. So go to smarthelping.com, make that big. Okay, I have website, or I have templates there on the website. I just added a service where I do help with underwriting. It's like pre-underwriting, really. If you want to give me some data, I can plug it into a model and give you a graded score based on a whole bunch of different grading mechanisms. Essentially, you get a risk score, a financial score, and a quality of the business scores for acquisitions, mainly targeted between 500,000 and 10 million, or somewhere around there. I've done a lot of SaaS, a lot of recurring revenue business work, obviously a ton of real estate work, and just I've done brick and mortar businesses, all kinds of businesses. So my specialty has been in financial modeling, but I'm, as ChatGPT's, kind of taking that work away, I've been transitioning to, buy side, essentially deal analysis, and you can kind of get my opinion on different assumptions you might put in, and strengths and weaknesses of a business, potential, basically helping you plug in raw data and get a better picture of business before you decide to go hardcore into diligence and pay a bunch of money to lawyers and everything else. Um, so I do. So 2 weeks ago we did a car wash. Essentially, I found a car wash for sale for 900,000 on BuyBizSell, whatever that website is, and plugged the data in and kind of walked through how I would do an analysis. And I might do another one of those for a different business this week if I find a good one. I am finding the problem with that is you don't get a ton of data. And um, in a real world scenario where a client came and hired me to actually do this, I would have, we'd sign NDAs, there's a contract involved, and they could get information from the seller to get a more comprehensive, input. But I've went through all the inputs in the general overview, so if you look at those videos, you can kind of get an idea of what it would be. But the hard part about doing it with just public information is you don't have you have a little bit of description of the business and maybe a cash flow revenue, but you don't have a T12. You don't have specifics on customer breakdowns, makeup, how much is recurrent revenue, how much is not, and whatever's relevant to the business. There can be a lot of different things to look at. Um, and so it's kind of hard to do it with just a random public data. If I do get more, but I might look at some more. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Maybe get a broad, at least get 5 or 6 different businesses overviewed. So that's kind of a starting point. And then if I get some clients coming through and hiring me for that, um, I can kind of go more in depth and get more experience with that, and then um, that'll kind of flywheel into me being able to do better videos about it, and then that'll get more clients to want to do it. Go through it, and I'll gain experience. Just as, basically over the past 10 years, I became an expert in building financial models and logic, trying to transition that into helping, uh, you know, give buyers of small businesses a kind of a scorecard and help them with that. Okay, like and subscribe, and hopefully this was helpful. If you're in real estate underwriting, building complex development models, this should be helpful for GP and LP waterfall calculations here. I'll see you on the next one.